In this video, I'd like to discuss and perhaps introduce you to a form of currency called Notgeld. At the outset of World War I, German and Austrian citizens began hoarding their hard currency. Hard currency refers to coinage like gold and silver that tends to keep its value over time. As a result, there was a coinage shortage, and regions in Germany and Austria began issuing emergency paper currency called Notgeld, which loosely translated means monetary note. Notgeld was created out of necessity. The notes were printed to be used in place of smaller currency that would be required for day-to-day commerce. The value of the Notgeld was to be backed by the local government or the bank that issued it. The idea was that the citizens would buy these Notgeld with hard currency, or would be issued Notgeld as change at a store or at a bank, or in some cases could be paid in Notgeld as part of their wages. The first Notgeld were of a rather plain design. But as time went by, Notgeld were produced in bolder colors and often depicted themes that reflected some aspect of German and Austrian folklore, or history, or geography, or politics, or social satire. The towns and organizations that issued the Notgeld took the time and effort to make the notes colorful and attractive to the citizens. Some folks even purchased Notgeld as a novelty or a collector's item. It's been estimated that over 100,000 different Notgeld designs were issued. The signing of the Treaty of Versailles formally ended World War I, and the treaty required that Germany in particular pay heavy war reparations to the Allies for the damage that its military inflicted. These reparations, along with the damage that had been done to the German manufacturing, played a large part in a downward spiral of the German economy throughout the 1920s. In this weakened economy, the issuance of Notgeld increased greatly in Germany. Because of this huge influx of paper currency and the increase in the money supply, the German economy got much worse and hyperinflation took place. As inflation increased to incredible levels, Notgeld was soon replaced by notes printed by the Reichsbank, the German national bank. Even though these new notes reflected a new exchange rate and were backed by the national government, the Reichsbank notes were issued in values that reflected the incredible inflationary rates at the time. Despite the sad times in which they were issued, Notgeld are nonetheless fascinating pieces of numismatic history. These nearly 100-year-old notes are colorful, artistic, historical, and in most cases quite affordable. Many Notgeld can be purchased today for just a couple of dollars apiece. Now let's take a look at some examples of Notgeld and examine the designs and inscriptions on them. But before we begin, I want to make a full disclosure. I do not speak German. I never studied it in school. I do think German is a fascinating language, and I've picked up some German words and phrases along the way. So I apologize in advance to my German friends. I will probably do a terrible job with my German pronunciation and translation. Please feel free to leave a comment if I have incorrectly translated anything on these Notgeld. As I said, I'm new to speaking German and reading German. The first Notgeld that were issued were rather plainly designed. This is an example of an early Notgeld that was printed in 1920. And you can see there are only two types of ink used, a brown and a green. At the top, it says Gutschein der Gemeinde. And at the bottom, it says Krummnussbaum. Gutschein means a note or a voucher, and Gemeinde refers to a small local government, so kind of like a county government here in America. There are two clues on this Notgeld that tells us it's an Austrian note. The first is the green ink and the 10 Heller. 10 Heller, Heller is a small monetary unit that was used mostly in Austria. Germany's small monetary unit was called the Pfennig. And the second is the word Krummnussbaum, which is a town in northern Austria. And on the note, there are two farmers in a field, and the farmer on the left is leaning against a plow. And underneath the farmers, it says, Und rost et das Schwert blinke, de Flug dann haben wir all Brut genug, which I believe translates to, when the rusted plow blade shimmers, then we'll all have enough bread. On the right side of the note, we can see that it was issued in December of 1920. And the back of the note is even plainer than the front. It is a monochrome picture of a crooked tree. And we see the name of the town written on the left. I believe this is in the Austrian dialect, and on the right would be the German dialect. And in the middle of the ribbon it says, in June 1920. So that was a view of the town, or at least of the tree, or a tree, in 1920. This Notgeld comes from a set that was issued in 1922 by the town of Elgersburg in central Germany. So this is part of a series, and the top of each of these notes reads, Notgeld der Elgersburger Ritterschaft, which translates to Notgeld of Elgersburger chivalry. So the notes would have depicted historical chivalric scenes that would have resonated with the citizens of Elgersburg. This one at the bottom has inscribed Unser Schutzpatron, St. Martinus, which would read, our patron, St. Martin. St. Martin would have been the patron saint of that area. And the reverse of the note has a sort of verse or prayer. And it says, St. Martin, wer bitten mit hers und mit Hand, bewahr vor de Fiend, Has und Wut, vor Bruderswist und Bürgerblut, Thüringen und all Deutschland, which would translate to, I believe, St. Martin, we ask with heart and with hand, protect us from our enemies' hatred and anger, for the brotherhood and the blood of our town, Thüringen, which is the state where Elgersburg was located, and all of Germany. The next note in that series is a 25 Pfennig note. And it depicts Elgersburg Castle, which sits atop a mountain or a hill. And there's a knight and a shepherd. And the back of this note also has a verse. Which reads, Blauer Himmel, Silberquell, Grünume Franz Halde, Marchenbild, so Sonnenhell, Elgersburger im Wald. And I believe that translates to blue sky, silver spring, settled among the mountains. This word it was really difficult to translate. I think it means fairy tale sight, so sunny and bright. Elgersburger in the woods, in the forest. Let me see, it was issued in 1922. The last note in this series is a 50 Pfennig note. And it depicts a watchtower, Karl Edward Wart watchtower. And this verse also threw me for a loop as far as trying to translate it. There we go. And it says, Wanderer, Kommendrast, von des Weges steite Steigung, Ruhend, gone hier, dem trunkenen Blied, herrlich, lab in Thürings lieblich gefällt, which I believe says, Wanderer, come and rest from the constantly sloped path, relax here, drink well, wonderful comfort in Thüring's charming fields. This next note is really colorful and really interesting and has an important historic context. At the top it says, Gemeinde Suderberup. Suderberup is a town in Germany on the border of Denmark. And here I'll turn it like that, both the left and the right side of the notes has the words Gedenk, dass du ein Deutscher bist, which translates to remember that you are a German, which I thought was kind of strange. But when you look closely, we see a map, and it's a map of Denmark. And coming from the Danish side is a dragon that is trying to ensnare a prince or a king. Now, what I learned is that Germans who lived in this part of Germany were ethnically mostly of Danish descent. And after World War I, they were allowed to declare either German or Danish citizenship. So this Notgeld is admonishing those citizens to stay German, which would have been a challenge not only because of their ethnic Danish heritage, but also because the Danish economy was probably much better than the German economy. At the bottom we see some more writing. It basically translates to valid under the authorization of Schleswig-Holstein's government. Schleswig-Holstein was the area where this town was located. And on the reverse of the note, we see a coat of arms. Not sure if that's the coat of arms of Suderberup or Schleswig-Holstein. And we see a deep-rooted tree. And in the tree we have a banner which reads, Up ewig und gedeilt, which means forever unyielding, which I take it refers to the fact that that land is German, the people are German, and they shouldn't yield to becoming Danish. Now this note, top of it reads, Stadt Freiburg in Schlesien. Stadt means city. So city of Freiburg in Schlesien. Schlesien is a region in the German Alps near the Swiss border. And the front has a view of Freiburg Minster, Freiburg Cathedral. And the inscription down here, Deutscher Scheinwert, this note becomes valid. I'm not sure what that is. And then we have Ein in Monat, in the month. And I'm not sure what that word is. And that says Ausgabe, produced September 1921. So it's just an inscription saying that this is a valid note and it was produced in September of 1921. And the reverse of the note is really colorful. And it says, Den aller Songesten Sonnenschein, which I think means the always cheerful sunshine. And above it is inscribed Eingang Alter Burg, which means entrance to the old town. The next note says Gemend Steinfeld, and it's also from Schleswig, and Steinfeld is a town, it means stone field, and that town is also on the border of Denmark. And underneath we have Dieser Schein Verliat. This note was issued June 20th, 1921. And we have two soldiers on the obverse, one holding a black, white, and red flag, which was the flag of the German Empire. And this confused me as well. Another soldier from the same army, dressed the same, and it is a French flag, the blue, white, and red flag of France. And I think this is a reference to a region of Germany and France called Saarland, which was part of the German Empire but was ceded to France after World War I. Now, despite the fact that this part of Germany all of a sudden became part of France, most of the people who lived in Saarland considered themselves German and thought it was kind of unfair and capricious that all of a sudden they were now French. Their loyalty was to Germany. So they felt a bond to Germany, and in fact, Saarland eventually voted in the 1930s to reunite with Germany. And in contrast to that sort of patriotism, we have a picture of what I presume is a German town, but we see a flag, and that's the flag of Denmark, and it looks like it has been broken from its flagpole and is about to be thrown into what looks like the sea. So, like the previous Notgeld, I think it's a reference to reminding Germans to stay loyal to the fatherland. Now this is a Notgeld from a town called Neustadt, which means new city, and it is also a German town on the Danish border. And up here we have a picture of a building, and it says Rathaus am Markt, which would mean town hall in the market square. And on the back, kind of humorous, on the back we have a scene, and at the top we see a banner that reads Das Eisenbahn Project, which means the railroad project. Eisen is iron, Bahn is road, so the iron road project, the railroad project. And the project this is kind of a cartoon. It's represented by whatever is on this plate, this roast beef or ham. And we see different people in the scene representing the different towns in the area and the different governments in the area. And they're all sort of doing different things. So a funny one right here is, it says, Husum Hafen ist schiffbar, which stands for Husum Harbor, which was a town on the coast. Husum Harbor is now navigable, and it's a picture of a cow or something peeing in the harbor. Then we have this person here sitting in a chair, Herr Hamburg, and Herr Hamburg is relaxing, holding money or a contract, and a sign on the other hand saying Nachricht wir machen, which means we'll do it later. And down here in the boat, we have somebody representing Neustadt. And he's saying, Ich helf min hacken al anslaan, which I believe means I'll help cut everything. I'll help divide everything. So anyway, it's a cartoon that symbolizes the inefficiency of building a railroad in the region. This next note is a 75 Pfennig note, also from Neustadt, and it depicts Der Großbrand de Neustadt, September 28th to 29th, 1817. So the Great Fire of Neustadt of 1817. The reverse depicts Kremperstrasse und Tor, Kremper Street and the Tower Gate. And this verse, I really could not tell what it says. Ein jeder Platz, die etwas Geld, I think means in every place there are different types of money, or there are types of money. Hart wool, hart means hard, but I think this refers to coarse wool. Certainly doesn't look like money. I'm really not sure what these two lines say. Drum means something that's round, and druckten means something that's printed, so printed rounds. And I wonder if that refers to the fact that some Notgeld was printed on circular cardboard to make it look more like money. So perhaps it's saying that printed rounds do not look like money. And this last sentence, I'm not sure what the first few words mean. Uns means us. Ob ihr dat gefällt means if you like or if you prefer. So what it's saying, I'm not so sure. But still, an interesting note and a colorful note. Now, I think it makes sense to end this video with a picture of a Reichsbank note. This is an image I found online. These notes were issued by the Reichsbank, the German National Bank, and you can see the difference in their monetary value. Previously, Notgeld were printed in values of 25 Pfennig or 50 Pfennig or 75 Pfennig or even a mark. But this 1923 Reichsbank note is printed for 5 billion marks. In the short term, these numbers became completely unsustainable and unrealistic. And in an attempt to stabilize the currency, the German government changed the currency rate to what was called new money, which was backed by German land holdings and mortgages. As a result, the Notgeld became worthless. So, I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to learn more about Notgeld, there's a great website called, not surprising, notgeld.com. I believe it's a British site. And there is a reference book titled The Encyclopedia of German Notgeld, which may be worth getting a hold of. It's certainly on my list of books that I want to purchase. Thanks for watching.